Do you want to know why companies with lower profits are sometimes worth a lot more than their more profitable competitors? In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the hidden math that private equity firms use to value their companies, and it might completely change how you think about growing your own business. Okay, so imagine there are two companies, and here they are in front of you here. So one company is has revenues of 20 million, and they are growing at 10% per year. Okay, so from today, they're going to grow in 5 years to be 32 million. Their EBITDA as a percentage is 30%. Okay, let me zoom in even more. Okay, so let me go back. So imagine you have two companies. Our first company has revenues of 20 million, and they're going to grow 10% per year. And so today they make 20 million. 5 years from now, they're going to make 32 million. Their EBITDA as a percentage of revenue is 30%. So today they make 8 million, and in 5 years they make 9 million. Okay. Now, any private equity firm typically is going to want to buy your company, and they want to exit your company in 3 to 5 years. So when we assume that they're going to exit, let's assume they're going to sell this company for 77 million, which is about an 8x multiple, which makes sense at around $10 million in EBITDA. You have a second company, okay, also 20 million, but a lower percentage of EBITDA, so 20%, but they're growing faster. So today they make 20 million, and in 5 years they make 75 million and change. Their EBITDA today is 4 million, and in 5 years it'll be 15, so more than these guys. And when the private equity firm wants to sell them, they're going to get, up 10x probably, because they're over 10 million in EBITDA. So they're going to sell them for 148 million. So what exactly and how exactly is the firm going to value this company? Well, we know that they have to pay something for them now. And if you imagine, they also have to achieve some return over time. Let's look at that right now. And then they also need to factor in some measure of risk. So if they buy your company this year, they're basically guaranteed to get this EBITDA, because not much should change in 1 year. But over time, there's more risk. So let's look at it. This first company is growing slowly and already has a very strong EBITDA. So the private equity company might add risk over time like this. So the risk of year one cash flow is, let's say, 0%. The risk of the second year cash flow is, let's say, 2%, and so on. But because they are so profitable and because they're growing at a steady rate, there's less risk. Okay. Company 2, let's look at their risk. And I used to work in private equity, so I know that this is how things work. So again, the first year cash flow, assume that they're not going to attach a risk premium to that. Over time, however, the risk premium or the risk rating of these future cash flows is going to go up against the other company. Well, why? Because this company is growing much faster and their EBITDA is significantly lower as a percentage, and so that creates more risk. So a PE firm is going to risk rate this company more highly. Great. So really, how much are they going to want to pay? So for company 1, let's take a look. So the way that we figure out how much they want to pay is, let's assume they want to make 30% on every dollar that they invest. So for this company, for them to make 30% in 5 years, they're only going to be willing to pay approximately 42 million. Now that's a fucking fantastic number. But it stands to reason they're going to want to pay that. They might be willing to take 25 because it's maybe more stable, or they might want 35, okay? But at any rate, it's some number. For the second company, again, we assume that they want to make 30%. And if that's true, they should be willing to put in 48 million now. So you see how it's more? The reason that they want to pay more is because the velocity of revenue growth is much higher. The EBITDA ends up being more dollars over the course of 5 years, and the exit is a lot bigger. So they'd be willing to pay more for this company. Now, we've talked about risk rating, and that factors in. we've risk rated these future revenues more highly or more punitively than the other company, and still they win. Really, they win because there's more EBITDA. Maybe not in raw dollars, actually. This one is going to be 51 million over the course of time, and this one's going to be 48 million. So there is more EBITDA from the other one, but also the exit is going to be significantly bigger. Now we're assuming a 10x exit here. There is talk about like CPG firms getting over 100 million, or and being worth 12 times EBITDA, but we don't know. Let's assume a conservative number. So again, when you think about growing your company, you need to understand that this is the math that somebody is doing. Really, if they're PE, if they're sophisticated PE, this is what they're doing. They're going to go, well, if I can get all this money and if I can sell this company, then I'm willing to pay X dollars to get Y return. That's how they all work. I worked in PE. I know this is how they work. So it's important for you to know how they work as well. What they might ask for a higher return from this company because it's more risky, and then it might affect the valuation, which it didn't there. Well, that's weird. But anyway, that would drive this number down if they need to make a higher interest rate return. Or they might not. They might expect the same from both of these companies because they're both around the same size. So when you think about growing your company and making trades between growth and profit, understand that this is the math. Now, do you want to know the ultimate way to figure this out? Talk to a broker who sells businesses like yours. They will know. I'm giving you general math that applies across all industries and all companies. You need to talk to a broker that works in your industry and sells companies like yours at the stage that you're in or the stage that you want to be at. So let's say you want to be here in 5 years. Go find somebody that sold 10 companies like yours in the last couple of years at this size. They will know what people are looking for. And similarly, if you want to be this company, go find some PE firms that have sold companies that are around 75, maybe 60 to 100 million in the last 5 years, and find a few that have done the job and ask them what you should do. Because as investment bankers, when they sell your company, their return is tied to your same goal as you, meaning that they make more money if you get a higher sales price. So they are incentivized to get you the best money that they can. Now, there are other factors that a PE company would take into account, but really it's how much money and how likely is it? That's really the two big questions. How much money am I going to get, and how likely is it that I will get that money? Or you could also ask, what is the probability that I will lose money? It's really those two things. And so there are other questions you'll need to answer, like your leadership team. You'll have to discuss, because if you have a very strong team, the PE company can come in and let them run the show like it always has been run. If you have a weak team, they're going to have to replace the leaders with people that don't know as much about you and your industry, and so it creates risk. And so what would happen, let's say this company is run very, very, very well, and this one is not, so they have to replace all the future leaders, and so then these numbers get a higher risk rating. And so then they will not pay 48, they'll only pay the same because this company is run better. Reset that. Another thing you can do differently is operating systems. If you have no operating system, as in EOS, scaling up, gazelles, or other things, again, the PE company can't come in and know that they can follow your playbook to get your result. If you have no playbook, they have to make up their own. Or they have to rely on the people that are currently in place to remember the playbook when you're gone as the owner, or they have to keep you in place as the owner. Other things are market growth. If you're in a wicked strong market, they can be relatively certain your market will grow. Do you have a really great product that people love to buy? Then it reduces the risk of them losing money. If you have very high LTV, if you have very strong retention rate, if you have very strong gross margins, all of these things are points for you to make the private equity firm believe that they can get what they think they can get, right? So if you think of a company that has 80% margin, well, not 80% margin versus 50%, there's a lot more risk here. The break-even revenues are higher. The risk of loss is higher. It's less here. Okay. There are other factors in play, you know, things like geography, market penetration. If you fully penetrated a market, there's risk that you will not keep growing at 30%. If you can't penetrate other markets, there's risk that, like if you've shown you've tried to enter another state, let's say, and it didn't work, and they can see that in your numbers, that adds risk to your growth. So there's a lot of things people look at, but the big two questions are, how much will I get and when? And what is the likelihood that I'll actually get it? If you can make those two, like, you know, a lot of money over time, and very likely that they'll get the money you say they're going to make, they will be willing to pay more for you. Let's say, for example, you know, this company is more profitable, but this company's better run, right? So what they might do is they might reduce the risk of future cash flows, which increases the price they're willing to pay. This is the math. This is how it works. When you're across the table from somebody sophisticated, this is what they're really doing. That whole EBITDA multiple shit, it's this. This is the math that's behind EBITDA multiples. Nobody who's sophisticated is going to go, oh, my EBITDA is going to be 4 million, so I'm going to pay 4x. No. This is the math that drives that simplified thing. Whether people know it or not, this is how it works. So I hope this was really helpful. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Thanks, everybody. Peace.